Audible's romance collection has something to satisfy every side of you. When it comes to what kind of romance you're into, you don't have to choose just one. Fancy a dalliance with a duke, or maybe a steamy billionaire. You could find a book boyfriend in the city and another one tearing it up on the hockey field. And if nothing on this earth satisfies, you can always find love in another realm. Discover modern rom-coms from authors like Lily Chu and Ali Hazelwood, the latest romantasy series from Sarah J. Maas and Rebecca Yarros, plus Regency favorites like Bridgerton and Outlander. And of course, all the really steamy stuff. Your first great love story is free when you sign up for a free 30-day trial at audible.com/Wondery. That's audible.com/Wondery.
Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
A magic beyond anything you could ever imagine.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Sagrera Farms on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day.
You really think that's the best idea?
Live from downtown Baton Rouge, this is Hunt Palmer.
It's quite a piece of work.
Hour 2, Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, working towards the weekend. Appreciate you hanging out with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. We're brought to you by Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef. The voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair, will be along in 15 minutes. We will talk to Chris about LSU and the Florida Gators coming up Saturday night in Death Valley. Of course, tonight, the coach's show, Brian Kelly's show from TJ Ribs at 7 o'clock. You want to stop on by and see Chris and the coach, you can do that. You can listen to it on your LSU Sports Radio Network affiliate, Eagle 98.1 right here in Baton Rouge, and we'll talk to Chris about all of it coming up in 15 minutes. I'll also talk some Saints at the bottom of the hour. Saints, generally speaking, going to be on the bottom end of the quarterback ranks, but 49ers might be this week too, so we'll talk about that here in 30 minutes. It's going to be a monster weekend on campus for LSU with recruiting, not to mention the ball game they're going to play. Sam Spiegelman with the Rivals Network, good enough to give us a little bit of time here to start the hour. It's on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Sam, how are you, sir?
Oh, I'm hanging in there. I got a 3-week-old, so I'm running on fumes. It feels like every day is National Signing Day, but I can't complain one bit.
Many congrats. I know the feeling. I got a 6-month-old. It'll be 6 months really shortly, and you'll be sleeping through the night and won't have to worry about much of anything. But for right now, I understand you're in the throes of it. We appreciate a little bit of time. I want to start with quarterback, and then we'll get to some of the other huge names because this has been such an entertaining and interesting quarterback cycle for LSU with the three guys with natural connections to the program. What can you tell us about all three of those? Of course, Elijah Haven, Colton Nussmeier, and Peyton Houston.
Well, they'll all be on campus this weekend, and I've said it before. I would expect one, potentially two of these guys to be playing for the Tigers when it's all said and done. Peyton Houston is going to make his college decision on Monday. Of the in-state guys, LSU, Coach Sloan, Coach Kelly really love what Pop Houston accomplished last year at Evangel. He was in that first wave of offers for the 2027 class. And, myself and my colleague Steve Wilfong had predictions in for USC after working out for Lincoln Riley this summer. But as his decision date was set, we've heard a lot of the SEC teams have come to the forefront. Oklahoma is currently the favorite. That's coming off a huge visit to Norman, but LSU is not going to go down swinging. They're going to get the last visit, and they're hoping, and there's a lot of optimism in Baton Rouge, that they can potentially overtake the Sooners. Sticking in state, everyone knows Elijah Haven. He's from right there in Baton Rouge, number one quarterback in the country. Again, one of Joe Sloan's early offers. I don't think that there's a relationship stronger for Elijah Haven than his with Joe Sloan. I think he's also resonated with the entire Haven family. And of course, Dunham has a pretty solid reputation of producing future Tigers. Yeah. So I think that's a name that LSU fans need to keep monitoring. He'll make visits to Florida, to Alabama, to Georgia this year. I expect Elijah to be playing somewhere in the SEC when it's all said and done. And then Colton Nussmeier, a kid who needs no introduction. Much like his brother, has been very close to this program throughout most of his life. Of course, because of Garrett, he's been around during Garrett's recruiting process, now his own recruiting process. He told me a couple weeks ago, as you might expect, his best relationship is with a name that we're hearing a lot, Joe Sloan, who obviously meshed with Garrett when he arrived in Baton Rouge. I think he's clicked with the whole family. Colton is looking to have a commitment at some point during his junior season. I would be surprised if he's not playing in Baton Rouge by the end of the year.
Interesting to hear that you think it could be too. Elijah Haven, there's a lot of smoke with Florida a few weeks ago. Does what happened last weekend in the Swamp have any impact there as that pressure starts to mount on Billy Napier?
You know, I spoke with the Havens this week, Elijah with his father, Kwame, Billy Napier and the staff, and it's not just Billy, who they've known since his days at UL, but Jabbar Jaloub, the associate head coach from New Orleans, Rob Sale, Ryan O'Hara, Russ Callaway. There's a lot of people in the building that have been recruiting Elijah for a long amount of time, and they've done a really good job. Not to mention Elijah being the number one quarterback in the country has really been able to connect with DJ Lagway, the Gators' starting quarterback. They've already gone through a lot of similar processes, so it's easy for them to relate. And Florida has hosted Elijah and his family the last 2 summers. I think that they've really shown that he's the top guy on their board. Of course, if he is not there at the end of the season, I think that would, of course, throw a wrench in the plans. I think Florida has positioned themselves well, but Elijah and his family are not rushing to make a decision. They're not going. They know that there might be coaching shakeup. They're looking for a program that stands on principles and values, and if they view Florida in that light, which it seems like they do, I think that they'll have a shot with Billy Napier and potentially with his replacement if it gets to that point.
Sam Spiegelman with the Rivals Network here, giving us a little recruiting update. Monster weekend on campus for LSU. KJ Edwards, a Texas A&M commitment, number 3 running back in the class per Rivals. Somebody that it appears LSU's making a push for. What can you tell us there?
Yeah, this is Frank Wilson's guy. Everyone thought Frank was a crazy man when he went into Texas a couple of years ago and landed Caden Durham, who's from Dallas powerhouse Duncanville, and whose mom was a decorated track athlete at Oklahoma. But Frank Wilson got his guy, and he's hoping to dip back into Texas, to East Texas, for KJ Edwards. LSU was a little bit late to the party here. Even for an East Texas kid, they were going a little bit slower. They offered this spring and were able to get an official visit in June. And a weekend later, he visited College Station and committed to the Aggies. Texas was in the mix here. A&M still feels really confident they'll keep Edwards on board, but LSU just will not go away. This visit has been in the works for a month or 2 at this point. Frank has kept his foot on the gas. We already know that East Texas, Carthage, is very close to Louisiana, so they have that factor going in their favor. If they're able to kind of show KJ another good experience in Tiger Stadium, this could get interesting. He has not shut down his recruitment. He is keeping his eyes on some of these contenders, and LSU is leading that charge.
So a couple more in-state 5-stars for 2027 that LSU will apparently host this weekend. Ahmad Hudson and Easton Royal, who are becoming pretty famous recruits. What can you tell us about those 2 guys?
Yeah, Ahmad is of course the number 1 tight end in the country. Around the state of Louisiana, he's very well known. He's had an LSU offer since his freshman year at Ruston. I think it was after his first game, if I'm correct. He's obviously a gifted football player. He's a gifted basketball player. His dad played for the Tigers. He was on campus last weekend, and I think it's safe to say that LSU is in a strong position to keep Ahmad home. They have done a fantastic job recruiting the Ruston Bearcats over the last couple of years. And I don't know if you know this, but their defensive line coach was coaching at Ruston not too long ago. And he's got a couple of teammates that he just saw, Ahmad Bro, Aiden Anding. So Ahmad and Aiden's little brother, Jaden, will be back on campus. I have LSU picks in for both of those blue chip recruits. And then Easton Royal, the 5-star wide receiver from Brother Martin, really has had probably the best offseason of any Louisiana prospect in that class this summer, just showing off his world-class track speed. He is the best player every time for the field for Brother Martin, and he's putting up massive video game-like numbers to start his junior year. I think LSU is also off to a really fast start with Easton. You have schools like Florida and Texas and Florida State and Georgia. Everyone wants a piece of the Easton Royal party. LSU, their tradition of receivers, having Frank Wilson and Cortez Hankton recruiting New Orleans, recruiting him at the wide receiver position, bode very well. And I think since June, since July, the pendulum has kind of been swinging in favor of LSU, though they're keeping their options open. I don't expect him to have a decision anytime too soon.
And then last name I want to bring up here, number 1 defensive lineman, number 6 player overall in the 2027 class, Jalen Brewster, going to be in Baton Rouge. He's a Texas kid. What can you tell us about LSU's start there?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. Jalen Brewster, his dad played in the NFL, and you know what? The genes translate really well. Jalen Brewster, haven't seen him a couple of times, not only on Friday nights, but in the camp setting. This kid moves at a different clip. LSU fans are in great spots with Lamar Brown and Big Rich Anderson, and Jalen Brewster is in that same tier for next year's recruiting class. This will be his first visit in a couple of months. He's largely visited Oregon, a lot of the Texas-based schools like Texas, SMU, A&M, and Oklahoma. And Oregon has been the early favorite with Jalen Brewster. We talked about his dad being in the NFL. Obviously, Dan Lanning has littered his Oregon staff with former NFL coaches and assistants, which has resonated well with Jalen. But the local schools, the Texas schools, LSU, Oklahoma, I think that those are going to be schools that stay in this race until the end. This weekend, again, much like with KJ Edwards, for a kid from Texas to come into town and see what Tiger Stadium is like for the Florida game at night, those are the kind of visits that really resonate, especially when all those dominoes fall the right way, and Brewster is definitely someone we're watching this weekend.
Last question here. That was the last name I was going to ask you, but this is always a tough one. But do you feel like there's a reasonable chance LSU gets a commitment in either the senior or junior class in the next 5-6 days?
Yeah, 100%. It's always possible. I can say this. I put predictions in for Ahmad Hudson, for Karan Eugene this week, and for Javon Vital out of Lake Hamilton in the Lake Charles area. LSU is just starting to get their 2027 class rolling. Like I mentioned earlier, Colton Nussmeier could have a decision made this weekend. It could be in next month. It could be in 2 months. But I would say in the nearish future, in the next couple of weeks as this class gets boiling, Karan Eugene, Javon Vital, and Colton Nussmeier are 3 names that LSU, I think, is the clear-cut favorite for. And now it's just a matter of, like I said, finding that right spice, that right mixture to get them to commit when they're ready. And junior seasons have started. You might see a couple of future Tigers lock in their spots to kick off this class.
He's on Twitter at Sam Spiegs, national recruiting analyst for Rivals. Good enough to give us a little bit of time. Try to get some sleep. We'll catch up soon.
Appreciate you, hon. Have a good one.
You too. That's Sam Spiegelman with Rivals. This is a huge weekend. A lot of it is in the class that is now just starting their junior season of football, but recruiting never stops, and LSU appears to be in a really good spot for a lot of high-profile names. And if you caught on to that, there's just a lot of, surprise, there's a lot of monster names from the state of Louisiana in the next couple of cycles. That's generally the case, and LSU's done a really good job with this Louisiana-based staff in pulling those guys in. Appreciate Sam for giving us a little bit of time here on this Thursday. Brought to you by Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef. Step aside, come back with Chris Blair, voice of the Tigers, next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Swing Easy Golf Club. Swing Easy GCBR.com. They are on Siegen near Perkins. What is Swing Easy Golf Club? Well, it's 3 incredible setups with golf simulators that can be used for practice, can be used to socialize, entertain clients, entertain friends, hang out and watch some ball and hit some golf balls. It's a great spot to do all of that. Go by and see him. Siegen at Perkins. If you're a golfer, no matter your skill level, if you're a scratch player who wants to see what your carry distance is and your spin rate is and want to look at the swing impact, you can do that. If you're just a recreational golfer who doesn't even have a handicap, but you'd like to see what Pebble Beach looks like on the simulator and drink a couple of cold beers with your buddies with a football game on, you can do that too. Just depends on what you're looking for. All of it can be available to you at Swing Easy Golf Club in Baton Rouge. Memberships are available. Open weekdays, certainly open weekends. You want to go on by on Sunday, drink a couple beers with the games on TV and hit some balls with your friends into the simulator. You can do that. Go by and see it. That's the best way I can ask you to go participate with Swing Easy. Just go see it. It's Swing Easy Golf Club on Perkins at Siegen. SwingEasyGCBR.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
You're thinking to yourself, man, It's been a long week. I'd really like to eat a brisket quesadilla and drink a cold beer and listen to some LSU football talk. I've got great news for you. Brian Kelly show tonight, TJ Ribs on Acadian. Stop by. It'll crank up at 7 o'clock. If you can't get by there for said brisket quesadilla and cold beer and LSU football talk, you can listen on our sister station, Eagle 98.1, every single week. Chris Blair will be there hosting things to give us some time on Thursdays. How are you, sir?
I'm great, man. 2-0. It's great to say that, huh?
It's been a minute. It's been 5 years. Yeah, it's good to say. What did you make? Let's start on the positive. What did you make of LSU's defense against Louisiana Tech?
Yeah, I mean, I liked it. I mean, I think the biggest takeaway for me until, late in the game, really just kind of dominated. I mean, I was interested to see what Louisiana Tech wanted to do. I mean, you get in these type games and sometimes you see a team that maybe tries to be something they're not and try to take the air out of the ball, let that clock move. I thought Louisiana Tech, to their credit, was kind of like, hey, let's go out there and play. And they were pretty aggressive, I think, on both sides of the ball. And I thought LSU's defense really, outside of the one bust late in the game with multiple substitutions in, proved to us that what we saw in week one was not an anomaly. Now, it wasn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I think we all can, at least with a small sample size, 2 weeks in, and I don't know how valuable that is when you look at the entire season, but I think we all can feel good that this defense is going to be able to play and play well just because of the way it looks. I mean, guys, where they're supposed to be, coverage is where it's supposed to be, and the pressure continues from Coach Baker. So that was my biggest takeaway. I know we could talk about the offense and missed opportunities and one step forward, two steps back, but, there's a lot of people subscribe to this saying, Hunt, which is defense wins championships. So I think that defensively, and again, we'll find out with a big test this Saturday, but I think defensively, what we're seeing is what LSU is.
I got a chuckle at player interviews on Tuesday. I asked Whit Weeks, why are you all stopping the run a little bit better this year than you did last year? And he kind of paused and he went, well, we kind of trust what we're doing and what Coach Baker's doing. We're on the same page. And Harold's back too. That helps a lot. And everybody kind of chuckled. What have you seen from Harold Perkins in his 2 games back from injury?
Yeah, I mean, I just think he does 2 things. I think, one, he makes plays. And even when a team with equal talent, game plans to try to minimize what he does, it still takes effort. So, I mean, it's kind of, as long as he's on the field, I just think he makes it difficult for the opposing team, whether he's making individual plays or just the fact that he's there and they've got to account for it and try to stay away from him. I just think it's been tremendous. I mean, I know Coach Kelly told us in the preseason that, hey, he's gotten a tick faster. He's gotten bigger and stronger. And it just really doesn't look like, I mean, when you consider the injuries coming off of and the short amount of time that it has taken him to get back and get to what he is doing on the field, it's quite remarkable.
Let's go to the offense. The thing that surprises me is the lack of the deep ball. And I guess the answer would be, well, Barron Brown caught one and they took it away from him at Clemson, and then he was wide open on the first drive and Nuss just missed the throw. So it could have been there in both games, but they hadn't quite hit the deep ball yet. That surprised you?
Yeah, it does surprise me. I went back on Sunday and watched the game, and I think when I left the stadium on Saturday, had you asked me my take would have been, for some reason against Clemson, I understood it. We wanted to get the ball out quickly, get guys in space, and just kind of have Clemson running on skates defensively, which I think they did a tremendous job in. I thought you would be able to kind of work on that deep game a little bit against Louisiana Tech. Now, to my surprise, Louisiana Tech, I mean, they were like, you know what, we're just going to gamble. We're going to bring pressure, and we're going to try to man up with these receivers. And, I think my biggest takeaway was, again, it didn't seem like there was a ton of time. The pocket was moved, and credit Garrett, he can certainly do that. As you pointed out, there were a couple of throws I know he wants back. But when I watched the film, I also realized there were a couple of decent balls down the field that, I mean, again, Louisiana Tech was beat, and they just said, you know what, we're going to tackle you or pull your jersey, and we're not going to let you make the play. So I think when you take it in totality, yeah, would you like it to look a little bit better? But it was kind of taken away from them on a couple of occasions. But I still go back to the ability to really have a deep drop and go through the progressions. Again, didn't expect to see it against Clemson, and we didn't except for a handful of times, and that one you spoke of. But I didn't see it a lot against, let's face it, an undermanned Louisiana Tech team. And that's my concern going into the Florida game. forget everything that's going on at Florida. The fact is they have great athletes. And if they put it together defensively, I think they can cause trouble, especially if you're not able to kind of hold the block and give your quarterback some time to let those routes develop if you want to have a vertical passing game.
One of the things we have seen from LSU's offense in the first two games is Xavier Thomas. What have you seen from him?
Yeah, I mean, he's just kind of Mr. Everything, Mr. All-Purpose. His all-purpose yards, if this continues, is going to be off the charts this year, the way they're utilizing him. And, I saw him talk to the media this week, and that's kind of what he said. Hey, this is fun, man. I'm getting the football in all kinds of situations. So, and good for him. But, no, I think he's a game changer. And Jacob said it throughout the broadcast, both against Clemson and Louisiana Tech. Like, just the fact that he's out there now and, again, not just gimmicky run plays. I mean, he's running like a physical runner when he comes in that orbit motion and takes the direct handoff, or whether it's the jet sweep or the tap pass. I mean, he doesn't mind getting dirty and putting his head in there and trying to bust through some defenders. So I just think he's having a blast. And again, I just think it's another piece of weaponry that every team that plays LSU has to account for.
I don't know if you've checked in on the folks over in Gainesville for your podcast this week or not, but have you done a vibe check and see kind of what's going on over there?
Yeah, I did earlier in the week. Had a chance to visit with my buddy Sean Kelly, voice of the Gators, of course, known here in Louisiana with his time at Tulane and with the Pelicans. And, he kind of said, yeah, what you're hearing in Baton Rouge is kind of the mood here in Gainesville. It's like right back to where they were mid-season a year ago. And even though they got the LSU win and strung a couple of games together and all seemed to be right, coming into the year, the Florida fan base was like, okay, we're looking at this roster, and this is the best talent that Coach Napier's had since he's been here. And then again, you have really, and this goes to my argument against the week 0 game or the lesser opponent. And I understand Florida had a kind of a scheduling issue and at last minute basically had to schedule Long Island. But that game did absolutely nothing for Florida, nothing. And I know that because in week 2 against a really good team in South Florida, they didn't look like they'd handled all, being on the field at the right time, avoiding, stupid boneheaded penalties. They didn't look in sync offensively or defensively. They got pushed around a little bit. So when I hear the argument is you need a warm-up game, okay, maybe, but that doesn't guarantee you're going to work everything out because obviously Florida has not. My thing for this game this weekend, and we've seen it a number of times, you got a team, you got a coach trying to fight for his job. Everybody rallies around him. And then you have a tough loss like that in the final seconds to South Florida. Does this team regroup and stiffen their necks and come over to Baton Rouge with a chance to change the narrative in a 3.5-hour period? Maybe. But I've also seen teams that when this situation happens, especially early in the year, they completely fall apart. We'll find out, I think, about this Florida team. And I know it's still just week 3, but I think we'll find out a lot about the Florida program when this game is said and done on Saturday.
Does that kind of feel like the first 15 minutes of this game are really important for the psyche of maybe both teams?
Yeah, and I think that's, if there's a silver lining to playing kind of sloppy last week, and I'm interested to see what Coach Kelly thinks about my theory tonight. We'll find out. Is that, Florida's coming off a loss. They were embarrassed. They had the spitting incident. It's just not good over there. So are they mean? Are they hungry? Are they looking to win? Are they looking to come and shut everybody up with a big win and sold out Death Valley? Okay, maybe. But I think LSU is not very pleased with their effort, albeit in a win last week. So it's almost as if both teams have something to prove. And that, to me, is why I think this one could be an electric matchup Saturday night.
I know nobody in Birmingham is going to ask you, but do you feel like LSU and Florida should be a permanent of 3 opponents? Would that make sense to you?
Other than having to go to Gainesville every other year in that scenario, yeah. I mean, I like what this rivalry has become over the last 10, 15 years. And, it's interesting because I've asked a ton of people, what do you think? If you get 3 permanents, do you think they're going to go, traditional Ole Miss LSU because of all the history that goes back decades and decades? Do they take a rivalry that's heated up over the last 10 to 15 years like a Florida and to some degree Texas A&M? And I say that only because of the geographic location and the recruiting battles and all of that. And is there a TV executive in the country that's going to say, yeah, we'll do without that Alabama LSU game? Yeah, that primetime football, not so great. So I don't know which way they're going to go. I've heard every theory in the world, which is they're going to get some input from every school. They're going to honor those longtime rivalry games. And I've also heard they're going to pick 2 permanent partners and let the computer pick the third. So that's a long-winded answer to, I don't think you could go wrong with continuing this rivalry, this series, I should say. But, who knows? I'm sure it's way above your and I pay grade. I know that. Somebody else responsible over in Birmingham will decide. But, I think it's good for the sport. I think there'll be a lot of eyeballs watching because, as you pointed out on your show this week, when these 2 teams get together of late, grab the popcorn and the Cokes because something's going to happen.
No doubt about it. Matt Flynn was asked who LSU's 3 opponents should be. He said he wanted to play Florida 3 times. So you get that from that generation of LSU fan.
Well, Jacob said the same. He said the same thing Saturday. He was like, "Dude, I want to keep Florida on there." So I kind of understand that.
That's their playing days coming on out. We appreciate it. Enjoy TJ Ribs tonight, and we will see you on Saturday.
See you on Saturday, boss.
That is the voice of the Tigers, Chris Blair, Brian Kelly Show tonight, 7 o'clock in Baton Rouge over on Eagle 98.1. Step aside when we come back. Things kind of evened out from a quarterback perspective with Saints and 49ers. We'll talk about it next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Farms beef, Sagrera Farms Premium Angus beef. You know that beef the demand is the highest it's been really in about 50 years. And with that comes volatility in stocking the shelves, pricing, all that kind of stuff. And if you've noticed that and you're uncomfortable with it, do it a different way. Do buying beef a different way. Go to Sagrera Farms, get some prime Angus beef, some of the best beef in the country, and just have it at home. Have it in the freezer. The Palmers have it right now. I wanted to make burgers last Sunday. We did it. Just thawed some out. Incredible stuff. My wife is just obsessed with those burgers that Sean dropped off, that I grilled, but that Sean dropped off with that Sagrera Farms prime Angus beef. That means you fix in the price, you fix in the quality, and it's there for your convenience as well, right there in the freezer. Call Sean Sagrera and get some of that Sagrera Farms Premium Angus beef. It's a hidden gem. It's not going to be hidden for very much longer because we keep talking about it, but it's right here north of Baton Rouge. You can go up to the farm. You can see the product. You can make that purchase, bring that whole cow, bring that side, bring that quarter back to your freezer, and be stocked up for the football season. So when you're ready to put steaks on the grill for Sunday night, Saturday night, with watching the Tigers, you're ready to put burgers on the grill, you've got it from Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef. Sean Sell, 225-719-1723. 225-719-1723. It's Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef. They bring you our Thursday shows each and every week. Sagrera Farms.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
Thursday shows brought to you by Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef. Appreciate Chris Blair for giving us a little bit of time. Shout out to Sam Spiegelman as well, talking recruiting. You missed any of that, you can catch it on YouTube at Hunt on LSU, certainly on demand, Hunt Palmer Show, wherever you find your sound. Appreciate you all for following along with us. Time to transition back to the black and gold. Got some significant injury news over the last 48 hours with Saints and 49ers coming up from the Dome on Sunday. We felt like George Kittle was very, very likely not going to play. Well, he goes on IR yesterday, so clearly George Kittle not going to play for another month. And we didn't think that Brock Purdy was going to play. Now he has been ruled out for this game. He's got turf toe. He's going to miss a month. So that's huge. I don't know another way to say it, but to suggest that it is huge. This is a San Francisco team that, yes, 2 years ago, you looked at them surrounding Brock Purdy with that unbelievable nucleus of players. It included, an all-pro at left tackle, that included having Deebo Samuel, who's no longer there, having a, healthy Christian McCaffrey, who is generally speaking gimpy all the time, having George Kittle around. Like, this was one of the best nucleuses in the NFL 3, 4, 5 years ago. Under Kyle Shanahan early in his tenure. And now you look at the offense that San Francisco is bringing into this game. and you take Brock Purdy out of the equation and you insert Mac Jones. Well, let's stop there for this part. Like, Mac Jones is not very good. When you are that high a draft pick and you are on your third team this early in your NFL career, he's been in the league for 4 years. Like, that is very, very rare. Like, sure, you could look around and point to a couple of examples, like Josh Rosen comes to mind. But, like, when you're that early a pick and you're on your third team, that is a massive red flag. And I looked at Mac Jones statistically. In the last 35 games that he's played in, he's thrown 32 touchdowns and 31 interceptions. He's not dynamic with his legs. He doesn't make great decisions with the ball. He's not overly productive. He is a backup quarterback very much in this league. There are very, very few Sundays that the Saints are going to take the field where I feel like they're even or better at quarterback. And you could suggest they're not even or better at quarterback this week, but it's really close to even if it's not. Spencer Rattler hasn't proven a lot at this level. But he wasn't terrible last week. I thought he was okay. And Mac Williams is, if you say he's okay, that's being polite. He has not been good. And so the Saints are about level at quarterback entering this game. And then you take away the best weapon for Mac Jones in George Kittle, who is just a great player. As I mentioned yesterday, a top 5 tight end in the league. That's huge. And now you look at Juwan Jennings, who's got a big old Q next to his name. I think he'll probably play, but we'll see. I mean, it's like beyond Christian McCaffrey, who's obviously a great player when he's healthy, Ricky Pearsall, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, like it's not great around Mac Jones. This is a super opportunity for the Saints. Now, one thing that I haven't mentioned, or at least in depth, in this Mac Jones, Juwan Jennings, Christian McCaffrey, no Debo who's on another team, no Kittle who's on IR. One thing I haven't mentioned in this group is that Kyle Shanahan is brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. I've told this story before. I go to a couple Saints games most years. Haven't been in a couple years, but I get to watch those games a little differently than I watch an LSU game. One, I'm not on the clock. And two, I don't have the emotional investment in that game that I do for LSU. And it allows me to kind of take a deep breath and just really watch. And I watched Kyle Shanahan in December of 2019 just dial it up that day. I mean, just dial it up. It looked like a college-style offense with the misdirection and trick plays. You usually can't get away with that in the NFL. The defenses are too fundamentally sound, too fast, too instinctive, too good to kind of, and I use this term loosely, but toy with the opposition. And he did that day. Now, that was 6 years ago. But that guy is an X factor, for sure. But if I just bring it to the guys on the field, the Jimmies and Joes on the field, the Saints match up with this version of San Francisco's offense. They absolutely do. I don't think the Saints have a great defense. I thought they played okay last week against Arizona. Against this version of San Francisco, I like the Saints defense. It would surprise me if San Francisco scored 30 points in this game. It would surprise me if San Francisco scored 27 points in this game. Something happens wild in the NFL every week, but it would surprise me. And that automatically, you drive the score down to 24, 21, 20, 17 points, you're in the game, as long as you just don't just get put in a box on offense. And that's possible. Like, San Francisco didn't have a great pass rush day last week, but you look at where the Saints are in terms of their offensive tackles, Bosa could be an issue. And he can take over. But this is not the San Francisco roster of 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago. It's not. So the Saints are rarely going to be favored this year, and they're certainly not on Sunday. But that line has come down. And when you look at these injuries and the impact they're going to have, I just can't simply look at this game the way I did 2 months ago when it said San Francisco at New Orleans. That, to me, looked really intimidating. This version of San Francisco is not that intimidating. And it's a big spot for the Saints. Make no mistake. We talked to Luke Johnson about this in the first hour. I don't feel like the vibes are going to be super awesome if you go 0-4. And I'll be candid, I won't have barring injuries next week, I'm not going to feel great about the Saints going to Seattle or going to Buffalo. Those sound like losses to me. Got to play the game, National Football League, any given Sunday, all that. Got it. But they sound like losses to me. I would suggest that 1-3 is significantly better than 0-4 after a month. This is a spot you can get that done because of the injuries that have been sustained and what it means to San Francisco. You got Mac Jones coming to town, not the big bad 49ers. The Saints ought to be able to put up a fight, get in the game in the fourth quarter, and make a play to try to win the game. I'll make my pick on it tomorrow, but I give the Saints a real chance to get it done in the Dome on Sunday against this version of Kyle Shanahan's 49ers. If you're looking for coverage of the black and gold, Ross Jackson's got you covered on LouisianaSports.net. We've got you covered right here at Hunt on Saints. You can find that on YouTube, wherever you find your podcasts as well. Hunt on Saints. Give you our pick for the Saints and 49ers coming up on tomorrow's show. All right, one more order of business. Let's take it or leave it. We'll do it next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is the website. Every car that's on the lot is online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. How about a rental? If you think to yourself, I hear Hunt talk about Genesis every day. I've never driven a Genesis, but a couple weeks we're heading to Oxford and we'd like to maybe not put the miles on our car, drive a luxury vehicle up there. Genesis is happy to rent you a vehicle. Want an SUV? GV80 is an awesome SUV. Just go on by and see a airline at PQ, say, hey, I'm interested in a rental, and they're happy to get you behind the wheel. And you might just decide after that drive, I think this is the direction I want to go with that next vehicle. It's a phenomenal brand, phenomenal staff, and they'll make that rental very, very easy on you. So if you've got a road trip coming up, I know summer is in the rearview mirror, but there are always fall road trips that come up. You don't want to put those miles on your vehicle, but you'd like to drive something new, something fresh, something that is different. Genesis can be the option for you. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge. Find that entire inventory online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Sagrera Farms.
104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and First American Bank and Trust bring you the Heart of the Game Award, recognizing student athletes who deliver when it counts. Nominate your game day standout at 1045ESPN.com by the 21st of September. We'll choose 5 male and 5 female finalists, and then it's up to the fans to vote for the winners. Each winner gets a $250 gift card, a custom award, and the spotlight they've earned. Presented by First American Bank and Trust, a banking tradition since 1910.
Thursday show is brought to you by Sagrera Farms Premium Angus Beef. Reminder for y'all, beef is scored on the intramuscular fat score, and if you're looking for select beef, which is about 30% out there, that's under 4%. That's the lowest grade that's out there. Choice, that's 60% of the beef that you find out there. It's between 4 and 8% on the IMF scale. The prime, the best of the best, is 9% and above, 10% in American. Sagrera Farms on the farm right now. Remember, 9 is prime. They have 13s, 14s, 17s, 19s. This is as good a beef as there is in the country, and it's right outside Baton Rouge. If you're interested in getting some of that beef for your freezer, for your home, so you can have delicious, juicy, flavorful burgers, big, fat ribeyes and fillets, Sean Sagrera and Sagrera Farms, happy to help you out with that. They bring you our Thursday shows each and every week. Reminder, Football Friday schedule tomorrow for 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge starts at 7 o'clock in the morning. Boys will be over at Rouse's for OTB 7 to 10. They'll hand it off to live at lunch 10 to 1 from Rufino's, an extra hour there. They'll be over at Rufino's. I'll be here from 1 to 3. Matt will be here from 3 to 6. And then we'll hand it off to Cade Wassay and Louisiana Prep preview. Catholic High football starts up around 6:45 with the pregame, kickoff at 7, so they'll be on the air till about 9 o'clock. So live and local tomorrow, 7 a.m. till about 9 p.m. Football Friday, wall to wall. Very much looking forward to that as LSU kicks off SEC play with the Florida Gators. One more order of business for Thursday. Let's take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Presented to you by Flight by Yingling, the next generation of light beer, crafted by America's oldest brewery. Today's hottest stories in sports, news, and sometimes even Hunt's life. The question is, will he take them or leave them?
Just take it.
Flight by Yingling, next generation of light beer. If you're tailgating this weekend, no Thursday and Friday, big days to go shopping, get everything stocked up so it's all ready for Saturday. That's the case for you. Get a case of Flight by Yingling for the tailgate. Perfect for those warm Saturdays. Perfect to drink more than one. It's got 95 calories, just 2.6 carbs. Flight by Yingling, next generation of light beer. Get some for your tailgate this weekend.
All righty, first one here. Thursday night football. The Washington Commanders and the Green Bay Packers. Take it or leave it.
I will take it. That's good. I like Jaden. He was a good player for my alma mater. Appreciated watching him play for my alma mater. And I like watching him play for the Commanders. They are 1-0. That is good. This is a big spot for him. Two of the best young quarterbacks in the NFC. Could be, theoretically, a NFC Championship preview. It's a long way from that, but it could be. And I'm for that. Go Commanders.
All right, next one here. Cleveland Browns safety Grant Delpit, another former Tiger. He had a press conference today, and when asked about trying to tackle Derrick Henry, he said, quote, "It's not that hard." Saying it's not that hard to tackle Derrick Henry. Take it or leave it.
I mean, me personally, I'm going to leave it. I guess it's all relative. I guess if you're Grant Delpit and you're a Thorpe Award-winning defensive back who gets paid millions of dollars to tackle Derrick Henry, maybe it's not that hard. I don't have a lot of perspective on that.
Even if you are Grant Delpit and you don't think it's that hard, I still probably wouldn't say that. Just in case maybe
I saw a good Derrick Henry stat on the internet. Did you see the stat about Derrick Henry that was floating around this week? So he's been in the NFL for like a long time, right?
Yes.
He's been running for a bajillion yards a long time. He still has not reached his high school rushing total in the NFL.
Yeah.
Which makes a lot of sense. I always consider, like when I played high school sports, I was like Joe average high school player in baseball and basketball. I never played against anybody that was really good. There was one guy in our district in baseball that played like 3 major league games as an outfielder. I didn't really play against anybody in basketball that was like a star. One guy went to Indiana and rode the bench. So I never played against any of these guys. I don't know how anyone ever stops these guys in high school. Like, how does anyone stop Greg Oden in high school? Like, how does he not score 120 points per game? That makes no sense. If he would have played against our high school, which we won a playoff game my junior year, he would have scored 150 points. We'd have never stopped him. Derrick Henry at what, 6'3", 225, 230, running like a freight train in high school? What kid who's roaming the halls that is going to IPS science class is stopping that guy? I don't understand.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I remember I actually did see somebody posting his stats from all his games, and he had games where he had less than 20 carries, but he's still like over 300 yards, like 4 touchdowns.
To put in perspective, Joe McKnight played in a playoff game against my alma mater in high school. And my buddies were on the team. I couldn't go. It was the Katrina year, and I just sprained my ankle in the basketball jamboree, so I didn't go down to New Orleans to watch. He had 3 carries, 3 touchdowns, and then they played the 8th graders the rest of the game. But that makes sense to me. A guy that was a kick return in the NFL playing against my friends, that's a touchdown every time. Just no question, that's a touchdown. And it should be like that for all those guys, I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, I was...
Did you play against anybody in like basketball that was like that played at LSU or something?
I played with guys that played LSU, but I remember at U-High for football when... I mean, Nick Brossette was a good running back for LSU. He wasn't a 5-star.
I saw him a lot in high school.
Yeah, but even in high school, as a senior, we would play against some teams that that weren't so good, and he would get 3 or 4 touchdowns and then take him out the game immediately.
Some of those, I mean, like the Derrick Henrys, like the Glenn Davises, of the world in basketball. Like, what are you supposed to do?
Glenn Davis played football, by the way.
I know. He was a running back.
Yeah, he's a running back. Try stopping him.
I would not. I would not try to stop him. I'm not interested in tackling humans. That's why we play baseball and basketball. All right, that's it on this Thursday. Brought to you by Sagrera Farms. Missed any of the show, catch it on demand. Fired up for tomorrow. It'll be a football Friday. Come hang out with us in about 22 hours. Matt's going to drive you home on AFR.
The Hunt Palmer Show.